This show surprised me. If you think this is just another rich family drama, think again. There's a moment, and you'll know when it is, that flips everything. Let's talk about it, but no spoilers.
But not every fable ends happily. Some stories have no hero at all. Sometimes the castle crumbles.
Hello everyone, I'm Danny.
I'm John.
He's back there. This is Danny and John Review It All, but today it's just me because I'm the only one that watched this show.
I didn't watch it, so I'm just lurking behind the camera.
Lurker.
Yeah.
Today I am talking about the new show from Prime Video or on Prime Video called We Were Liars. It just debuted this week on Prime. So let me tell you a little bit about it. The write-up goes, the story of a 17-year-old girl from a wealthy family, Katie Sinclair, spends her summers on a private island. After suffering a terrible accident, she struggles to remember events that happened in her past. So this is 8 episodes, each an hour long. Like I said, it's on Prime. This is also based off of a book that was called We Were Liars, written by E. Lockhart. It's a young adult series. And it turns out she's actually written a second book that is a prequel to this, and I'll get to all of that because the show talks about it. The lead girl, Cadence, is played by Emily Allen Lind. I had never seen her in anything, but she actually has been in quite a bunch. She was in the newest Gossip Girl adaptation, but I didn't watch that. Also, Mamie Gummer is in this, Meryl Streep's daughter, Rahul Kohil. I loved him in iZombie, but he's also been in all of Mike Flanagan's shows, so you'll know who he is. David Morse is the patriarch. Everyone kind of knows him. Like, I always think of him as from Suburbia.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yeah.
With Shia?
Yeah.
And Caitlin Fitzgerald is also in this. She was in Masters of Sex, and It's Complicated. So there's a lot of faces you know, and there's quite a big cast. And these young adults, probably you'll know them from things, but I didn't recognize them from anything. So, but everyone is very good. So the point of this show is exactly as it says. We follow Cadence's point of view in this Sinclair family. They're very wealthy. They live on this, in the summers, they live on this compound on their own island that's off of Martha's Vineyard. And it's all about the patriarchy and the grandfather to these kids. There's like 4 levels of family members. There's the grandparents, then the 3 daughters that they had, and then their children. And the 4 that we're most interested in are the 3 cousins, and then this 4th boy that they met when they were little who spends every summer with them as well. And in the first episode, we're introduced to this summer. We're kind of introduced to some of their traditions with this wealthy family. And then at the end of that episode, Cadence, we find out, had this accident that summer. And in the second episode, we're now a summer ahead. And she doesn't remember what happened to her. And so the mystery of the show now is to unravel what happened to her in the previous summer. She comes back to the island and works with her cousins to hopefully jog her memory and try and remember what went wrong. And that's what we're following, is this mystery. So I'll get right to the highlight reel and talk about what I think worked really well in this. Now, the first episode, I will say, was a little slow. I wasn't entirely hooked. But when you see what happened at the end and then you realize how we're going to tell the story from then on, we're kind of jumping from what is considered present day to the previous summer. I like the way they tell that story, and they pull it off pretty well. Thank goodness she dyes her hair. So that's the way you can tell is we're in one summer to the next because of her hair color. The way they unravel this mystery and the way they tell this story is really well done. That's not an easy thing to do. And it really kept my attention, which is why I just kept binging the series the whole time. It's a very huge cast because this family has a lot of people in it. And they all did really well. I had no complaints on the acting from anyone, no matter which generation they were in. They all did really well. I thought that each episode also kind of, she works with a different person. So maybe she's kind of dealing with one specific cousin in that episode. And so and then the next episode, maybe she's dealing more with the next cousin's storyline to try and unravel. And I kind of like sticking to that kind of order. You don't get thrown with too much information at once where you can't follow along and try to see what's going on. And then what I really liked is I've complained on here a few times that today there's all these rich family does bad things shows, especially since White Lotus, where there's been just a million different iterations. This I thought was going to be one of them, especially during that first episode. I was like, I really can't handle watching another, rich family drama type thing. This does not hold up to that same sort of thing, partly because we're following these young kids. They're 16 and 17. And so we are seeing the oldest generation kind of holding up their wealth and using it to control people. And then the next generation below, their 3 daughters, are also just very much wanting the money and wanting the status, and they will do anything, and they actually turn on each other, and they do everything they can to try and just be better in the eyes of their father. But watching this younger generation, they kind of turn against that. They kind of say we should be doing better with what we have. We should learn more about the caste system, the class system, and that sort of thing. And so I liked having a different point of view where a lot of times in these rich family dramas, the younger kids just are drunks and partiers, and they are lazy and they don't want to do anything because they have all of this money. And yes, there's some of that to these kids as well, but also they kind of keep redeeming themselves and wanting different things and kind of turning against the 2 older generations to say, this isn't what we want. We don't want to argue and be against each other. We want to be cousins and friends and love each other. And so I liked that aspect. It does turn it around a little bit from all the other dramas that have been out there en masse, let me say. I loved the setting. It's definitely a beach setting. Definitely the richer house and all of that. Obviously we get that in all of these shows, but it's always fun to just kind of watch what people would do and coming up with some of these weird little, like they have a lemon hunt every year and he hides 200 lemons and gives a prize to whoever. It's just, there's some weird little traditions, and it's like, who came up with that? Did the author hear that from someone else? Does she know that someone did that? I don't know. It's just
rich people.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just different.
The only weak spot that I could actually come up with was that this family was supposed to be blonde. It was a thing. So the grandmother had to have blonde hair, and then the 3 daughters all had their blonde hair. But this younger generation, they put wigs on them or dyed their hair in horrible ways. And that, to me, I know it sounds like a really stupid, weak spot to come up with, but the wigs were not good. And you can tell the difference when the wig came off because they cut their hair, or then they were using their own hair or whatever. It just, I don't know why. It bothered me. It just bothered me from the first episode. It was just like, really? And again, they're not even like blonde, like natural blondes have. Like, I should talk, but you know what I mean? Like, it was just such a strange, but it also leads to, there is talk of racism, and I think that comes from that oldest generation and money and all of that. And it kind of, there is a point to it, but to make that happen, we couldn't just dye the actor's hair blonde. Like, I don't know. It didn't make sense to me. So that's the only weak point I could come up with, though, is because everything else, I really liked the way the story was told. I really liked the way that it was unraveled. And when the mystery reveals itself, like I said in the opening, I was shocked. I was surprised. I did not see it coming. I don't want to call it a twist, because the whole point of the show is to figure out what this mystery is. But I was really, it's hard to word this because it's a very tragic story. I was very happy that I was surprised by it, because so many times I can see it coming a mile down the road. And this one I didn't. And I will say it tore me apart because at that age, there are 3 cousins in this show, a boy and 2 girls. I have cousins, the same, a boy and a girl, and the 3 of us were just so close. And so I could very much relate to their relationship and what they kind of go through. And, you know, especially kind of having your own little world and the parents, you know, being out there and that sort of thing. As far as it being like a young adult thing, at first too, I also thought maybe I'm going to be too old to watch this. Like, can I really relate to these 16-year-olds in today's world or whatever? There was not a problem with that whatsoever. It's just a good story that I think we all get. They also do allude to this other book that is actually a prequel. It goes back to when the 3 mothers were teenagers. And so I would assume if this season does well, Amazon will go ahead and do a season that shows us that story. And it intrigued me when they talked about it. They kind of teased a little bit and I thought, okay, I'll go ahead and watch that and see what happens. I can't imagine that it comes close to this story and how compelling this story was, but I'll definitely check it out. That's, you know, not a problem. Okay, so I hopefully didn't spoil anything for you guys. I think this works for everyone. I don't think that if I had to recommend this, I wouldn't say, oh, only teenagers can watch this. I actually think I'm going to tell my mother to watch it. She'd probably like it. So it's a good watch. It's not the best that I've ever seen, but it is a really good watch. I am actually giving this a 9 because it worked. It just worked. And maybe that's very personal because it surprised me and I wasn't expecting that to happen. I actually really enjoyed it. So get through the first episode and then it really will take off and you'll be hooked. And like I said, it's only 8 episodes. So in 8 hours, you can finish it. I think maybe too, I had low expectations going into this and it exceeded that. So that's why I'm giving it a 9. And I think everyone can enjoy it and just take it for what it is. It's definitely a drama. It's definitely soap opera-y with the rich people and all of that, but it's worth it. It's definitely worth it. So there's been so many of these rich family dramas. You know, there's the White Lotuses, there's Succession, there was 9 Perfect Strangers, The Perfect Couple. There's all sorts, anything Nicole Kidman's been in the last few years. Any of these your favorites? Would love to hear if you comment below. Tell me what was your favorite. I'm not sure if I have one that I can think of right off the bat. Would love to hear from you guys. Also, have you watched We Were Liars? Did you read the book? And would love to hear if you read the book, if this adaptation was any different than the book. I always love to hear that stuff, even though I'll never read the book myself. So anyway, that's it for this. Please like the video, subscribe if you can. It would really help out our channel. And we will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.